Bibongo flies to Australia. Support our work on Patreon at the link left in the description and donate for the next stories. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bebongo flies to Australia. In faraway Australia, near the city of Darwin, there was a large savanna, home to various animals, birds and insects. In the savanna, in a family of parrots, with quite an effort there hatched the third, smallest parrot, 2 days after his brother Vibo and sister Nana. The parents named him Bebongo. He was not only the tiniest, not only was he the last to hatch, but he also turned out to be the last in everything. He ate less, practiced flying less and failed his dream to catch up with Vibo and Nana. One sunny day, while Bebongo's mother and father were hunting aboriginal flies, woodworms and collecting seeds to take lunch to the chicks, some people appeared in the bush, hunters of exotic animals. Bad people they were, hunting the animals, capturing them and selling them away from their homes and families. Seeing the hunters, Vibo and Nana jumped out of the nest and soared as high as they could, up in the tree branches. Bebongo was the last to jump out of the nest and give an attempt at flying. He flapped and flapped his wings as hard and fast as he could, but they were too scrawny and tender, and instead of flying higher up the branches, he fell at the feet of the hunters. The hunters caught him, locked him in a cage with other parakeets, and took him to a compound with various other captive animals. Late at night, all the cages of captive animals were loaded onto a plane and taken far away, on another continent, to an exotic animal store. Bebongo was noticeably thinner and smaller even than the parrots in the store, so they put him at the lowest price in order to sell him immediately. After a while, a young couple entered the store and decided to buy Bebongo in his gift to a very old grandmother Clara who had been living alone and very lonely for several years. Grandma Clara loved and respected all animals very much. When Bebongo was brought to her, her face lit up, her smile lasted forever and her heart filled with kindness. On the same day, Grandma Clara opened the hatch of Bebongo's cage so he could fly freely around the apartment. However, Bebongo knew he couldn't fly, so he didn't even dare to leave the cage. Grandma Clara was patient and really tried to make Bebongo feel loved, so every day she left a variety of food on the table where Bebongo's cage was set, usually pieces of boiled potato and carrot, fresh tomato, cabbage leaves or cucumber slices. Little by little, Bebongo mustered up the courage to get out of the cage and explore the space. He took a short walk around the table and decided to try some cucumber. He bit cautiously and timidly with his beak and his mind was blown when he tasted the cucumber. That treat was so delicious that Bebongo immediately ate the whole piece. Every day, Bebongo tried all the novelties that Grandma Clara would serve him at the table. Tomatoes and carrots and potatoes he also found delicious, but Bebongo loved cucumbers and bread most of all. He was well fed, with the best vitamin-enriched bird food, as well as fruits and vegetables, and very quickly, from a tiny and weak chick, Bebongo grew into a big, strong and beautiful parrot. One day, Bebongo got out of his cage and decided that the day had come when he would start flying. He stood on the edge of the table, jumped up and started flapping his wings. With a little effort Bebongo flew. He soared and dived through the air, circled around the chandelier, reflected himself in the glass-covered tapestry on the wall and finally stopped on the ledge above the window where he stayed for the night. He really liked the view from above and loved spending time there. One day, while Grandma Clara was making cucumber salad, Bebongo jumped off the ledge and landed on her shoulder. She was overjoyed. She immediately remembered that the parrot likes cucumber, so he slowly handed him a piece, which Bebongo began to nibble on. As the days passed, Bibongo got more and more accustomed and bonded with Grandma Clara, as if he had known her all his life. He was constantly standing on her shoulder, and she walked him everywhere in the apartment, took him to the neighbors for coffee, and even took him out to the balcony to watch the sparrows and pigeons. Bibongo played with all kinds of toys, was constantly let loose and did not feel the need for freedom. That's how Bibongo and Grandma Clara lived together, carefree and in lots of love. One autumn day, Grandma Clara got very sick, her legs started to hurt terribly and she could barely take care of herself. Soon, the doctor recommended her to go to a nursing home where she would be taken care of and recover faster. Bibongo realized what was happening and was very sad because he knew that if Grandma Clara went to the home they would have to separate and he would have to be looked after by someone else. Grandma Clara was even sadder because she knew the same thing. She knew that wherever they took Bibongo he would probably be caged all the time and he would be very sad. Bibongo decided that when the day of parting came, he would not be going to anyone's home, but home to Australia. When people came to take Grandma Clara to the nursing home, Bibongo stood on her shoulder and stroked her face with his head. They caressed like that for a long, long time, and then Bibongo stood at one of the half-open windows and looked at Grandma Clara with sad eyes. Grandma Clara, with teary eyes, quietly told him to go and waved her palm. Bibongo chirped, climbed out of the window and soared high up to the clouds of the endless sky. He was flying and searching where the planes were taking off from. He was looking for the airport where he was brought from Australia. After half an hour of flying, he saw the airport, slowly began to descend and look for a place to land. He managed to find an open window and landed on a metal beam under the very roof of the airport. He started looking at the planes to see which plane had an Australian flag and was flying to Australia. While Bibongo focusing on this task, he found himself surrounded by a group of pigeons. Ferdinand, the bold leader of the flock, stood before him and asked, "What are you doing here, unfortunate chick? This is our territory, there is not enough food even for us." Bibongo politely introduced himself and said that he did not come after food, but was looking for a plane to Australia to go home on the first available flight. Ferdinand asked to be followed and showed him the plane that was supposed to fly to distant Australia that same night. But there was one problem. It was a passenger plane, so it was almost impossible to get into it. Even if he manages to get in, people could capture him on spot. But Bibongo was determined and the pigeons had no choice but to help him get on the plane unnoticed. At 2 o'clock in the morning, as the plane moved to merge with the passenger tunnel with the door open, Bibongo, accompanied by pigeons, descended and entered the plane. He landed low on the carpet and quickly hid between two food lockers. "Who are you?" came a voice from the darkness. "I'm Bibongo." "And who are you?" asked Bibongo. "I'm Butch," answered the voice, and a tiny mouse appeared in the faint beam of light. "Do you live here?" asked Bibongo. "Yes," answered Butch the mouse. "And why are you here?" she asked. Bibongo explained he was going home and needed to stay hidden until the plane landed. Butch offered to be a good host and led him under a seat on the plane where TV was being watched. They sat down and Butch brought snacks and seeds and waited for the cartoons to start. After 20 hours of flight, the plane started to descend. In no time, the plane landed and the passengers began to leave. Bibongo waited for the plane to empty and when it was finally safe, said goodbye to Butch, got out from under the seat and flew to his home. He soared in the clouds and flew for another 3 hours until he found the place where he lived as a child. When he found it, he went down and went to the tree where the nest was. When his parents and siblings saw him, They were amazed and overjoyed that their littlest lost chick had finally returned home. They hugged and kissed him to no end, then celebrated with a dinner of aboriginal flies and a dessert of mango and wild almonds.